Hi, and welcome to Park Place Views. I'm Carly Seward, Management Information Intern for the City of Janesville. If this is your first time tuning in, we air this program on a monthly basis to cover different projects and people within the City of Janesville, your local government. I'd like to thank JATV right away for allowing this program to be here today. Last month, Maggie Hrdlicka, Management Information Specialist, sat down with Janesville Police Department Chief David Moore. If you'd like to view that program, you can go to our website to the Publications and Videos webpage. Today, I'll be sitting down with City Engineer Mike Payne to talk about the high-profile construction and street rehabilitation projects of 2015. Residents often wonder when certain roads will be redone or when projects will be complete, so today Mike and I will go over all of the burning questions regarding these 2015 projects. Now, Mike was hired as project engineer in 2000, and he climbed the ranks as senior engineer, assistant engineer manager, and engineering manager, and became city engineer in February of 2014. He holds a bachelor's in civil engineering from UW-Platteville, and he is a registered professional engineer and a Wisconsin certified public manager. So I'd like to say welcome to you today, Mike, and thank you for being here. I've already said a little bit about you, but can you tell us some more about yourself, both personally and professionally?
Sure. Thanks, Carly. I've been a resident of Janesville for probably 16 or 17 years. I'm married, have 2 kids. Both kids are in elementary school. Very active family life. I'm a Cub Scout den leader. That keeps me busy. My daughter's in Girl Scouts. I've been a softball coach and a soccer helper. So we tend to find a lot of things to keep ourselves busy. I volunteered in the schools. Engineering kind of is not only my profession, but kind of my passion. And so I volunteered in the school district at various grade levels with engineering, math, and science type activities, and have found that very rewarding. Also, I've been on the board of directors for the Janesville New Lions Club for about 10 years, and I'm a past president. So overall, I'd say I'm pretty involved in the community.
Sound very busy. So quite a few high-profile construction and street rehabilitation projects are in store for 2015. A few that I think we should highlight are Main Street, the Sidewalk Program, the Jackson Street Bridge, the Parking Plaza, and the I-3990 project. So just to jump right in, could we talk about the rehabilitation of Main Street? I know that this is a major project that the city has been involved in and planned for a long time. So do you think you could describe the construction or the rehabilitation plans for this project?
Sure. So the City of Janesville has been working with the Department of Transportation for a number of years on this project. It is North and South Main Street. The project goes between St. Lawrence on the south end all the way up to Center Way on the north end. And it is for the most part, a mill and overlay rehabilitation type. The water main that's existing in that location was installed in the late 1800s and is in need of repair. So part of the project scope includes replacing that water main on the entire length of the project. Okay.
All right. And was any community input considered when you were planning this project?
Yes. The DDA is a group of an organized group of businesses in the downtown area, and former Public Works Director Carl Weber was the city's liaison with that group, and there have been many discussions with many of those members. We've also had some public informational meetings and a community engagement forum where we've been in close contact, seeking feedback and some assistance and direction in the decision-making process as we've defined the scope and the streetscaping improvements.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I guess I just have a question about how this is funded, or who is funding this project.
There's actually 2 different types of funding. The first is the roadway improvements themselves. That relates to the sidewalks, the curb and gutter, and the paving portion of the project. That is eligible for 80% federal funding, and so we've received a grant in order to get those funds and program the project. The city's got to pay the local share, the 20%, and then on the water main, the city's paying 100% of that cost.
Okay, wow. And do you foresee it affecting any of the businesses that are on Main Street? I know that the road might have to be closed at certain points during this project. How do you foresee that affecting the business downtown?
Sure. Well, anytime we're working on a construction project, there's going to be an impact not only to the traveling public, the walking public, but the businesses as well. And so this is no different, but the DOT does have a program in working with established businesses. You know, this project is especially important to us because it's in the downtown, it's in the central business district, and we know that it's very critical to keep traffic and pedestrians able to move around in the downtown location. As part of the water main replacement, there's going to be times when block by block traffic is going to be detoured around the Main Street portion of the project. But the project specifications that the DOT included will require that the contractor allow pedestrians access at all times to get into the businesses.
Okay. And also, going along with that, is the city working with the businesses directly at all to ensure that they will have continued traffic or continued consumers getting down there?
Yes, many of the business owners along the Main Street project are actively involved with the DDA and the Downtown Development Alliance. And so there's a lot of ongoing discussions. They're aware of the project. There's been very good turnout and public participation. Anytime something's going to happen and affect your day-to-day activities, it's typically something that people want to be a part of, and that's no different in this case. So we've had a lot of input and involvement from the affected property owners.
Good, that's good to hear. Okay, so moving on to another high-profile project, the Jackson Street Bridge. So right away, what can you tell us about the reasons behind the construction on this bridge?
Well, the Department of Transportation, again, this is another DOT, Department of Transportation project, and every 2 years the city is required to hire a certified bridge inspector and evaluate structurally all of the bridge resources that we have. And about in 2010, the Jackson Street Bridge was rated at a level that would allow for 80% funding for the rehab or replacement of that structure. And again, we submitted a grant application to the DOT, and we were successful in getting that 80% funding, and have been working with the consultant and the DOT for multiple years to advance this project to the point where we are now with having some construction going on in the field.
Great. Okay. And what can you tell us about the schedule or the timeline of the project or the plan?
Sure. The contractor is Lunda Construction, and the DOT is managing the project, and they started last fall, 2014, with demolishing the existing structure, and they were able to work through the entire winter to remove the bridge piers and abutments and start pouring the new substructure. And so work progresses today. Things are going according to plans, which is a good thing. And the last I talked with the project manager, they are on schedule and looking to open that up in July of 2015.
Oh, wow. That's coming up pretty
Yes.
soon. And was historical preservation a factor, now that the bridge has been there for quite a while?
Yeah, the original structure was constructed in 1918,
Oh.
and it's a sand-filled arch structure, and that's fairly expensive now to replicate. And so when we were going through the design process, we evaluated a couple of different scenarios, and one of them was actually replacing the structure in kind with that type of sand-filled arch construction, but that was really cost prohibitive. So what we rolled some ideas out to the public and obtained some feedback from local residents and the public. And what we decided to do was to go with a more traditional concrete girder structure with a concrete slab on top. But in order to preserve or kind of replicate the arches, there's precast concrete elements that will be attached to the outside of the structure, which will replicate that arch look from the river itself.
Wow,
so it's a more economical way to try and recreate the appearance of an arch bridge.
Yeah, that'll be great, so it'll look similar, or at least historically similar. And I know you mentioned that the DOT was part of this project, but will the city be able or be involved with the actual work at all?
The city does not have an active role with the day-to-day construction, but it's a structure that we will end up maintaining,
Okay.
And there is park property on either side of the bridge itself. There's a bike trail that runs along that area, and so there are definitely local improvements that are being coordinated with the DOT bridge project, and so from that perspective we are involved, or at least in contact with the DOT in coordinating those aspects.
Good to know. Okay, so moving on to the next project, the parking plaza, which is the structure that covers the area, or covers the Rock River between Court and Milwaukee streets. So why is this structure not functional anymore, or why is it planned to be demolished?
Well, the parking plaza was constructed in two phases, 1963 and 1965. It currently has about 240 parking stalls designated on it. And again, this is labeled or considered to be a bridge by the DOT.
Oh.
So every 2 years we've got to have that state certified bridge inspector be part of the process, evaluate the bridge or the parking plaza from the top as well as from the underside. And in 2012, as part of that evaluation, there were some structural deficiencies that the structural engineer noticed, and he was concerned about, and so that's what has led to closing off of kind of the central portion of the existing parking plaza. So at this point, the area that's closed is not safe and rated to support vehicle traffic, and at this point we don't want pedestrians in that area as well.
Okay. And is there a timeline for this removal, for the complete removal of the structure?
Well, the recent ARISE plan that kind of looked at a more broad scope of the downtown area looked at a number of improvements that could occur, and that plan did include and did consider what to do in the absence of the parking plaza downtown.
Okay.
And so the first phase one of the ARISE implementation calls for designing to remove the parking plaza and then deal with kind of the upland sides and the river walls and getting those reestablished on either side of the river.
Okay. And is this going to be at a high cost to the city, or what are the costs associated with the removal?
The consultant that the city is currently working with has identified the costs at approximately $2.5 million to remove the parking plaza itself. That being said, it's just an estimate at this point because they haven't completed the design for what it's going to ultimately look like. There's talk about maybe a pedestrian bridge is constructed between the west bank and the east bank. There's talk about other green space or public assembly area amenities in that location. And so as the design progresses to something that can replicate what a bid package would be, that estimate will be refined and shared with the public again. And again, I'm sure that we're going to be talking to a number of the DDA folks and the public, and there will be opportunities to provide some input and have some public discussion about what should the area look like and how should that be when we're done.
Yeah, I think that input is key. And have there already been public informational meetings or community engagement forums regarding this?
At this point, it's very early in the project, and there have not been. There haven't been meetings specifically about the parking plaza itself, but again, the removal of the parking structure and identifying what that's going to look like and entail has been part of a recent community discussion as part of the ARISE plan. So there has been opportunities for the public to engage and talk about that, but we haven't had any specific conversations about the actual components of the project and how that would occur at this point.
Okay. And I know that there have been some public concerns about lack of parking if the plaza were to be taken down. And what can you speak to that? Do you think that there is a lack of parking? Is that a reality, or can you offer some alternative parking areas?
Yeah, well, parking is always a sensitive topic, Kind of like sidewalks in Janesville have been controversial over the years. But every other year, in the odd numbered years, the planning department does a parking survey of the downtown, basically within the central business district, and they look at on-street parking as well as off-street parking. Off-street parking would basically be any designated public lots, the North Parker Drive parking ramp, the multi-level structure, as well as the parking plaza. And so they evaluate over approximately 1 week duration, and look in the morning and do a survey, and in an afternoon and do a survey, and then kind of add all the numbers up and average them out to try and get a weekly average. And in the central business district, there are almost 1,400 parking stalls that are available for off-street parking. So that doesn't include the parallel parking stalls that would be available on the street. And probably the two most well-known locations for parking is the parking plaza. And the 2013 study showed that that about 49% of those stalls were used when the occupancy study was done. The other location is the North Parker Drive parking ramp, and that project was constructed a couple of years ago, and that includes about 240 parking stalls. And when the stalls were evaluated in 2013, that found that only about 20% of the stalls had been occupied across that week that it was surveyed. So overall, almost 1,400 parking stalls in the downtown area. The average was a little under 30% occupied. And so to me that indicates that there is available parking. Now, I think what certain people may argue is that perhaps the available parking isn't in the right location, meaning that maybe it's 2 blocks or 3 blocks or 4 blocks away from the high use areas. But as a whole, I guess that's what I can offer to you, is that every other year the parking study is conducted. I know that parking consultants have been engaged in the past by the planning department, and they've come to the same conclusion that there is adequate and sufficient parking in the downtown. Perhaps it could be a little closer to some of the things, but overall, I think when you compare Janesville to some of the larger cities, we're pretty fortunate to be able to park and walk a block or maybe two to get where we need to be in the downtown.
I agree with you. And you mentioned sidewalks earlier, so what can you tell me about the sidewalk program in Janesville?
Well, as I said, sidewalks have been controversial, certainly. As we've discussed, the public is not afraid to offer their opinions on whether sidewalks are needed, whether they want sidewalks, whether they think that they should pay for the sidewalks. So that's one of those topics that doesn't seem to go away. 2015 is the last year of the major council initiative to fill the sidewalk gaps within the existing sidewalk network. And so this year there's approximately 80 people that were ordered in to have sidewalk installed when we had the public process and public hearing last fall. And those 80 property owners affected totals about 1.7 miles of sidewalk to be constructed. And as I said, that's the last year of the multi-year initiative to kind of complete the sidewalk plan, and we refer to that as the Pedestrian Transportation Corridor Plan, the PTCP. So the one thing that the council came up with last year was, I think because of the public input and some of the concerns with the sidewalk program, even though the sidewalk has been ordered for 15, that doesn't mean that the sidewalks will be installed this year. So if you live on a residential street, the council allowed those property owners to defer the installation up to 10 years. Or if they sell their house, or if 80% of the block has sidewalk installed, then the rest of it would be installed. If property owners live on a collector street, then they were eligible for up to 5 years for deferring. And for those people that live on an arterial street, which would be one of the large primary streets in Janesville, the council's desire, and staff agreed that we should just go ahead and put that sidewalk in right now in 2015. So that season is coming up.
Okay, sure. And I know that lately there has been a lot of discussion about the city's street rehabilitation program, especially due to the November referendum asking voters to approve an increase in funding for these projects. So about how many miles does the city's current program address annually for the street rehabilitation?
Well, historically, we've been successful somewhere between 5 and 6 miles.
Okay.
The city council had placed a funding restriction on that program, and it's been a while since they adopted or added a component to the council debt management policy, where they previously capped the borrowing at $950,000 per year.
Okay.
And so, as construction inflation costs have gone up, and we've essentially level funded what we can afford to do, we've been doing less and less and accomplishing less and less miles of streets on an annual basis. So that is, that's created a little bit of a challenge.
Okay, sure. I could see how that could be a challenge. And also, how do you determine which roads are addressed each year?
Sure, that's a good question. The Department of Transportation requires that we inspect all of our streets every other year.
Okay.
And just like the parking study that planning does in the odd years, engineering is on the same cycle. So every odd year we evaluate, we drive, it's about 330 miles of streets in the city's street network. And so we drive all of those, and then we have to rate the pavement on a block by block basis. And we use a system called the PACER system, PASER. And that's a rating system between 1 and 10, with 10 being basically a new street in perfect condition, and 1 being a failed street that would need total reconstruction. So we identify and attribute the respective PACER rating on each block of street, and then put a map together, kind of color code it, and use our GIS software to help us kind of plan for that. The one thing that the council has asked us to do is they've recognized that over the last 4, 5, maybe 6 years, we've been limited with the funding that we have, and we haven't been able to accomplish as much of the street rehabilitation as we would desire. And so they've asked us to ramp up our program. And 2015 is a transitional year, and so we're targeting about 9 or 9.5 miles of streets for rehabilitation this year. And the ultimate goal, as directed by the City Council, is to get to a point where we're fixing somewhere between 10 and 12 miles of street on an annual basis. So we're kind of in that transitional period right now. And this summer we will be taking a look at inventorying all of our streets. And when we get the new rating system developed and the new numbers, we can take a look at what that means and how that corresponds with the funding that we have, and then we can prioritize, what our 2016 street program looks like and our 2017 street rehabilitation program looks like.
Okay. And then can you tell me a little bit about which roads will be rehabbed this year? I know you said it was about 9 or 9.5 miles.
Yeah. There's about 40 street segments that are on this year's program. If the viewers are interested, they can type in 2015 street program on the city's website on the search function, and that should take them to the engineering page, and they can click on a map there that identifies the streets that are there. But to hit the highlights, we've talked about Main Street between Centerway and St. Lawrence. That's on the program this year. That's going to be coordinated through the DOT, but we will be involved with that one because of the location downtown in the Central Business District. 2 sections of Pontiac Drive are on the annual program. Section between Ruger and Milwaukee, as well as Mount Zion to Lucerne. The Hawthorne Park Drive, that entire circle, is on the program this year and being done. And then 2 other probably fairly high-profile locations, Mineral Point between Franklin and Palm, as well as Jackson Street between Mineral Point and Race Street. So that's right up by Mercy Hospital
Oh, okay.
and the Tallman House. And so we've got water main to replace on Jackson Street, and and we're collaborating with and coordinating with Mercy Hospital to try and maintain access to their emergency entrance
right,
at
that's
that
important.
location. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great to know. I also know that Wisconsin winters are long and harsh usually, and our roads are inevitably left with potholes and other hazards to drivers. So, how and when are potholes addressed?
Potholes are addressed by our operations division,
Okay.
and just like engineering is one of the divisions within Public Works, operations is another division within Public Works, and so they have a pothole patching truck that they send out. Again, if interested citizens can find their way to the city's website, there's a pothole patching form online that they can fill out and submit to operations. And it's about this time of the year when the frost is coming out of the ground and the pavement's starting to move again that things start to get bad. And as a result of that, that pothole patching truck is out working every single day of the week to address those problems in those locations. So, did you ask me how people can submit their concerns for potholes?
Yes, on the website?
Okay,
Is that...
on the website, or they can call operations directly, and
Okay.
that's at 755-3110,
Okay.
and provide their concerns over the phone that way.
Okay, that sounds great. And another important project that we were going to highlight is the I-3990 expansion project. I know that this is primarily a DOT project, but what is the city's hand in this?
The city's been working with the DOT for probably close to 3 years now. The interstate expansion project is a 50-mile long project that's almost $1 billion to complete, and that runs between the Wisconsin-Illinois state line border, up through Beloit, up through Janesville, to the Badger interchange in Madison at Highway 12 and 18. And there are over 100 bridge structures along that 50-mile stretch.
Wow.
And the project has been split into 3 segments, and Janesville is in the central segment. Janesville is the largest community that's impacted by this interstate project, and so the DOT has been working diligently with Janesville for many years now to get that figured out. The first interchange that was reconstructed along the corridor was the East Racine Street interchange, and that was in 2013. So that kind of set the tone for the project. Kind of the colors that you see on the bridge structures is the earth tones that the DOT plans to incorporate up and down the corridor as that entire project starts to unfold here between I think 2016 is the first year of actual improvements on the interstate, planning to take until about 2021, I think, to get that completed.
Okay. And how do you see this impacting the future of Janesville, the expansion?
Well, I think anybody that lives in Janesville locally and has used the interstate to get from Racine Street up to Highway 14 or Highway 26 realizes that there's an awful lot of semi-truck traffic on the corridor, and so it can be difficult to merge on and perhaps get off of the interstate at the particular ramp that you're after. And so the plan, at least through Janesville, is to expand from 2 lanes in each direction to 4 lanes in each direction. And so what the DOT recognizes is there's a lot of commuter trips and short journey trips of hopping on the interstate going north or south for a few miles and then getting back off, and so that can create some congestion problems for the traveling public that are trying to get from Beloit or the state line up to Madison, who are normal commuters and basically just passing through Janesville on the interstate.
Right.
So in addition to what will be 8 lanes for through traffic, there's going to be some additional merge lanes that are referred to as collector distributor lanes, and between Highway 26 and Highway 14, the interstate is actually going to be 12 lanes wide.
Wow.
So
it's very big.
It's very big. So as far as the impact on Janesville, while the initial phases of the work is conducted, I know that the DOT has been preparing some alternate routes in case there's a major incident on the interstate. Where would traffic be diverted? There's close to 70,000 vehicles a day that are using the interstate and traveling through Janesville on the interstate. And so the DOT has made provisions to allow and maintain a minimum of 2 lanes in each direction on the interstate at all times while the work occurs. So what that means is a lot of, that increases the project length and some cost because they're going to have to build some temporary widening, some temporary lanes, expand some temporary bridge structures to accommodate the 2 lanes that are there in each direction now. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a positive benefit certainly for the local economy, for the through traffic, and we hope that in talking with our economic development folks that becomes a regional draw, and that there's less restrictions in and around Janesville because the interstate is so much more efficient at that point.
Wow, yeah. Sounds like a big project. But speaking more close to home, I know that downtown there are quite a few buildings that are going to be coming down in the near future. And these buildings are the gas station at 101 North Franklin, the Plaza Furniture Building, and the Tracy Building. So what can you tell us about those?
Sure. The gas station building at 101 North Franklin has the city acquired that almost a decade ago in anticipation of constructing the new police services building, and that kind of corner and quadrant of the police services building has been designed to expand in the direction of where the existing gas station building is currently located. And so the former tenant of that building had moved out, and it's been unoccupied for a long, long time, and it's in a state of disrepair. And so the council went through a process to decide what to do with it, and identified that it was going to be fairly significant to rehabilitate the building to turn into alternate uses. But the council did seek proposals from either interested business owners or historians, anybody that wanted to get together to try and preserve it. Ultimately, nobody stepped up and had a good reuse or had funds to invest in the building and property to allow it to be reused. And so total project costs to remove that structure are about $36,000. What's going to happen is when the building is removed, some black dirt and seed are going to be put in its place, and when the building is finally down, it's just going to look like an extension of the side yard. The green terrace, green yard area that's currently north of there.
Okay, yeah, good to know. And what about the Tracy Building?
Tracy Building and Plaza Furniture are 2 structures that are right tight next to one another.
Okay.
They are located just up adjacent to the existing parking structure. And again, the Arise plan and the city's long-term comprehensive plan, long-range comprehensive plan, have identified that as more of a public gathering space, possibly parking, but that hasn't been determined yet. And so when those 2 structures come down, again, the plan is to restore the site with green grass and pursue alternate purposes or other purposes at a later date as part of a future phase of the Arise plan. Total cost for removing both of those structures is about $126,000, and the city did receive a grant to take that down because of some environmental issues associated with the property. And so there's going to have to be a little bit of environmental cleanup with that. Both of these demolition projects were recently bid, and the city council is going to consider award of both of those contracts at the next council meeting. And if those are awarded on March 23rd, I would anticipate that the demolition contractors could mobilize at any time after that once the contract is in place. And completion date that we've identified is early June of 2015 to have those sites restored with grass growing.
That's pretty soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've gone over a lot of the high-profile projects that are in store for 2015. But if residents want more information, where can they go?
If they'd like more information, the city's website is the best asset for
Okay.
them. If they can navigate their way to the city's website and go to the engineering homepage or the street project homepage, there's some additional maps and lists for the streets that we're going to be working on.
Okay. And if the public have questions specifically for you, how can they contact you best?
They can contact the engineering department directly by calling 755-3160.
Okay, good to know. And then I'd like to end the interview with just a few rapid fire questions like we usually do, just to get to know you on a little bit more of a personal level. So, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. What is the best amenity in Janesville?
I would say the Janesville Performing Arts Center.
Okay. And your favorite family event or activity in Janesville?
We spend a lot of time right here at the Hedberg Public Library. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And your favorite food?
I would say somewhere between tacos and pizza.
Okay. And the best and the worst thing about being an engineer?
I think the best thing about being an engineer is getting to work with people to design and build something that's going to be there for generations to come or decades to come.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the worst thing is getting stuck in a controversial item, perhaps sidewalks or going through public assessments.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't make everybody happy.
Yep.
Okay, any last thoughts to add?
I'd just like to say thanks for the opportunity to talk to you and allow the citizens of Janesville to tune in to watch the episode.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. I think it was very informational.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next month, we'll be talking about the spring and summer recreational programs coming up. And in addition to tuning into Park Place Views on a monthly basis, you can follow us on social media. We have Facebook and Twitter, or you can sign up to stay connected through our weekly emails. So thank you for tuning in this month. I'm Carly Seward, Management Information Intern for the City of Janesville. Thank you, and we hope to see you next month.
The City of Janesville, Wisconsin's Park Place. Our mission is to innovatively provide effective municipal services that are responsive to the needs of residents, businesses, and visitors, and delivered in a reliable, efficient manner in order to sustain Janesville as the community of choice. The city workforce has identified 4 core organizational values: adaptability, respect, service, communication. Adaptability. We are creative and flexible in response to our community's changing needs. Respect. We embrace diversity, empathy, and collaboration through a foundation of mutual respect. Service. We serve with kindness, integrity, and professionalism. We are accountable for making ethical and innovative decisions that reflect community-driven goals. Communication. We value transparency through honest and clear communications.
Our staff consists of over 530 employees working around the clock in many different areas. The City Manager's Office, the City Assessor's Office, the City Attorney's Office, the Clerk Treasurer's Office, the Accounting Division, the Human Resources Division, the Information Technology Division, the Police Department, the Fire Department, Economic Development, the Hedberg Public Library, JATV Media Services, The Department of Public Works oversees 7 divisions within the city: engineering, operations, technical services, parks, building and development services, planning services, utilities. The Neighborhood and Community Services Department oversees 3 divisions within the city: recreation, housing and property maintenance, the Janesville Transit System.
The diverse programs and services our staff provides help us achieve our strategic goal, downtown. To position our downtown as a vibrant neighborhood where commerce, culture, entertainment, and history intersect. Economy. To facilitate continued growth and diversification of our local economy. Financial sustainability. To remain a responsive and forward-thinking steward of financial resources. Image and engagement. To strategically communicate the city's strengths, priorities, and initiatives while maintaining trust and confidence through effective engagement. Infrastructure. To build upon the community's foundation of well-planned, maintained, dependable, and sustainable infrastructure. Partnerships. To embrace and enhance collaboration with local, regional, national, and global stakeholders to realize shared success. Performance culture. To cultivate an organizational environment that empowers an engaged, innovative, and diverse municipal employee base. Rock River Corridor. To promote, enhance, and respect the unifying feature of our community. Safe and healthy community. To advance safety and overall well-being of residents and neighborhoods through cooperation and encouraging an active lifestyle. We work towards these goals because we believe in the Janesville Community's vision statement. Wisconsin's Park Place. Discover the community of choice to realize life's opportunities.